Welcome to Hatman Strikes Back Daily Boxing News. So on Thursday, we had the Jack Catterall Harlem Eubank press conference, which doubled up as a reveal for the Matchroom rebrand. Now, of course, Eddie Hearn's trying to spin this rebrand as innovation for innovation's sake. But the reality is it's an attempt at quote unquote innovation because Matchroom have been on the decline for the past couple years. So the rebrand is an attempt to swing the momentum back the other way, change the energy within the company, change the energy of the company in the minds of the public, so that Matchroom once again can start to be in the ascendancy. Now, those of you who have been following my channel for any length of time will know that during the Matchroom heyday, I was giving credit where credit was due. I always give credit where credit's due. My motto on this channel has always been, no fighter is below praise and no fighter is above criticism. Ditto for promoters. When Matchroom were flying high, when they were at their peak, I was making videos saying that Eddie Hearn is the best UK promoter I've seen in my lifetime. He was certainly the most accessible UK promoter or any nationality promoter that I'd seen in my lifetime up to that point. Because before Eddie Hearn, some of you may not realize this, but promoters were very aloof. They weren't accessible to the public. They acted as though they were too good to be engaged in conversations with members of the public, at least in interviews. So there was no turning up with a smartphone or even a camera and trying to get an interview with Frank Warren. Oh no, you would not get press credentials unless you work for a major news outlet, one of the newspapers or television networks. Eddie Hearn changed the game in opening the floodgates to allow pretty much anyone to interview him at Matchroom press events. Didn't need any kind of journalistic qualifications at all. Didn't need to be from a newspaper. Could just have a little YouTube channel with a couple of hundred subscribers. And these people were getting press credentials. Now, this was a strategic thing by Eddie Hearn. He was going for blanket coverage. He understood the power of social media before Frank Warren did, and he utilized it brilliantly. In fact, in Eddie Hearn's early days promoting, Frank Warren used to mock him for always being on Twitter. Can you imagine? That's how stuck in the past Frank Warren was. So there's no doubt that Eddie Hearn, Matchroom were innovators. And obviously he had the right talent, such as Cole Frotch, the rivalry with Groves, Anthony Joshua, and so on, to help build the Matchroom brand back up. But at some point, Eddie Hearn got too arrogant, too complacent, carried away with his own ego, and started making unwise decisions, especially after his switch over to DAZN, hiring Maya Jama as lead presenter for the DAZN broadcast team, having this very odd attempt at comic relief with Darren Barker and Chris Lloyd. I mean, you literally had two of the least funny people to ever appear on UK television being sold as some type of comedy duo. Yeah, Eddie Hearn totally lost touch. He thought that he was King Midas and anything that he touched would turn to gold, but instead it was turned into doo-doo. Anyway, the point I'm making is I always gave Eddie Hearn credit where it was due, to such an extent actually that some idiots started to accuse me of being an Eddie Hearn fanboy and even working for Eddie Hearn. I never even met the guy. But people just make stuff up because they can't understand the concept of objectivity. They can't understand the concept of nobody is below praise and nobody's above criticism. They don't get it. You get certain pseudo hardcores in boxing who think that it's cool and edgy and hardcore to automatically hate on anyone in boxing who's successful, be it a successful promoter, a successful fighter. No, you must never give credit to successful people in boxing. And I'm talking about commercially successful, financially successful. No, the cash cows must always be ridiculed constantly. Apparently that makes you a hardcore. Totally ridiculous. So anyway, because I gave Eddie Hearn the credit that he deserved when he was flying high, I got criticized by certain fake hardcores. But eventually these idiots realized that I was never an Eddie Hearn fanboy to begin with. I certainly never worked for him. Because when Eddie Hearn started effing up, I started criticizing him. He was never above criticism for me. Anyway, long preamble, the Matchroom rebrand. I'm being as objective as possible here. They changed the layout of the press conference. They changed the logo. They've gone for a more TV show type format rather than a standard press conference format. I think changing the logo was unnecessary personally. The new logo is okay. Doesn't look great, but I've seen worse logos. The press conference set I'm sure it cost a lot of money, but it looked very tacky somehow. I saw a comment from somebody saying that it looked like a Blue Peter set or something. I mean, I don't know about Blue Peter, but like I say, it looked somewhat tacky. Maybe it was the colors they chose or the design of the stage and all that kind. It just looked tacky to me. And they tried to keep it more rapid fire in regards to the questions with the fighters and whatnot. And then they have this other section away from the main stage of the press conference where you have Sonny Edwards and Charlie Parsons sat on armchairs interviewing fighters. Now, I can see what they're trying to do, Matchroom, with this format and this setup, and I think it actually could work, but only if they get the right talent by way of presenters to pull it off. They would need presenters who are charismatic enough, funny enough, interesting enough to be able to command the room and turn it into basically a show, that type of vibe. I'm almost thinking about TFI Friday from back in the 90s or even The Big Breakfast. TFI Friday had Chris Evans and Gabby Roslin. Big Breakfast had Johnny Vaughan. I'm not saying they need to recruit either of those guys. I'm just saying they would need somebody in that type of mold, charismatic personality to tie it all together, a larger-than-life presenter to make it fun. You see what I'm saying? Unfortunately, they don't have that. Eddie Hearn is doing this nepotism thing, or something similar to nepotism, where he's just recruiting his friends and giving them jobs. People are not being recruited based primarily on talent for the Matchroom broadcast teams. No, they're being recruited primarily based on what type of relationship they have with Eddie Hearn. Now, some people who have a good relationship with Eddie Hearn might have genuine talent. But in the case of Sonny Edwards, Charlie Parsons, and particularly Darren Barker, oh no, they don't. Charlie Parsons is a perfectly good interviewer behind the camera. I like a lot of his interviews. But in front of the camera, he does not yet have it. And he may never have it. We'll see if he improves over the course of his career. But in front of camera right now, he's pretty damn horrible. As is Sonny Edwards. Their section is kind of an integration of a show they do together called Small Talk. So they're integrating that into Matchroom press conferences now, apparently. It didn't work. It was horrible. They interviewed some female fighter that Matchroom have just signed, and the whole thing came off as boring, awkward, completely devoid of any kind of cohesiveness. It was just horrible. Again, that format I think could work, but they need the right presenter, somebody charismatic, somebody with a background in television presenting. And I'm not talking about flipping Maya Jama. I'm talking about like a cheeky, chappy presenter in the mode of, again, a Johnny Vaughan back in the days or Chris Evans, somebody like that to host it all. But presumably because there is nobody like that in Eddie Hearn's friends circle, then we're simply not going to get it. I mean, perhaps Eddie Hearn thinks he's that guy to tie it all together. Eddie Hearn is a charismatic talker and whatnot, but he's not the guy for that particular job. No, he's not. They need a proper presenter, somebody that's been doing it for a long time or somebody that's got some real talent for it and they're very comfortable. And like I say, they can command the room and command the whole show and be very funny and witty. And do you know what I mean? Eddie Hearn's too much of a businessman these days. He's too business-like to pull that off at this stage in such a formal setting. Eddie Hearn's best in informal settings. That's where he's most funny and whatever. Anyway, that's my take on the Matchroom rebrand. I don't think it's going to work for him as things stand. I don't think it's going to help him any. I don't think it's going to help them turn the tables and get themselves back in the ascendancy. They're going to need to change a lot with their rebrand to achieve that, as far as I can see. But those are just my thoughts. Give me your thoughts in the comment section below. Perhaps you have a completely different take, and that's okay. We'll find out who's right and who's wrong in due course. Anyway, don't forget to smash that like button, share this video, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you all for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. I'm out. Are you surrounded by mindless bots in human form who adhere to the norm and blindly conform? Who swallow all the mainstream BS and actually ridicule you for questioning things? Do you wish you had more free-thinking individuals in your life to network and converse with? Well, look no further. We're right here. Come and join the Brotherhood of Reason on Patreon. You'll gain access to my weekly topical content where we take deep dives on an endless variety of subjects, as well as my vast back catalogue of podcasts, videos, interviews, movie decodings, and my Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You'll also get to talk and network with myself and hundreds of other people in our members chat. You can enjoy all this via the Patreon app or on desktop and download all my podcasts in high-quality MP3. There's no contract, no commitment. You can cancel at any time, just like Netflix, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper. Just download the app from the Play Store or the App Store, or simply visit patreon.com on a web browser. Then head on over to my page and select the tier called the Brotherhood of Reason. All the links are in the description box below. And just a quick money-saving tip for Apple users. If you purchase your Patreon subscription on the desktop site or on Android, then you'll avoid the ridiculous 30% fee that Apple charges for purchases made on the iOS app. So if you're on iPhone or iPad, save yourself some money by buying your subscription on the actual Patreon website or on Android because it's a lot cheaper. Once you've made that initial purchase, you can then use the Patreon app on your iPhone or iPad thereafter to access and enjoy your content as normal.